Hey YouTube, today I wanted to share with you another knife. This one was a Böker Squail, and this is designed by Charles Marlowe and is designed after his custom model by the same name, the Squail. And this is a really well designed and really well built knife. So I really wanted to kind of break this review down by firstly talking about Böker's execution of the knife, and then also talk about the design of the knife, which is really all of Charles's doing. So like I said, let's talk about how well Böker did with this model. So we see that it has a micarta scale and titanium bolsters on both sides, and then what I believe are also titanium liners. And I'm really impressed with the fit and finish that Böker did on this knife. We can see there's some really nice scalloping. There's contouring of these handles on both the bolsters as well as the micarta side. And I was really impressed because, as I'll talk about later, this knife is really only $100. So in addition, the line where the micarta and the titanium meet is very well done. You can really barely see that gap there, and then the gap for the bolsters and the liner is also very well done. There's certainly a gap there, and you can see there's two different colors between the bolster and the titanium liners. But like I said, for the price of the knife, I'm extremely impressed. Like I said, I think these are titanium liners. I suppose they could be steel, but if I'm not mistaken, they are titanium. And then what looks to be a G10 backspacer, which is practically the entire spine of the knife as well as the butt of the knife. And overall, the fit and finish is excellent on this knife. Here we see the lockup is fairly early in this particular knife, and it's interesting. It has the what looks like the fail-safe lock, where there's a kind of a increased curvature of the lock face, and it doesn't appear that it's going to travel further than this particular spot. I failed to mention when I was looking up here, we have phosphor bronze washers. So this knife is very smooth on top of everything else. And if we just let the lock bar fall, or let the lock bar close, we can see that the blade likes to fall just by itself. Let's see if I can wiggle that while it's on camera. And it closes very nicely. It has a very smooth detent that catches it. Let's see if I can get this. There we go. Very well done. The hardware is sunken in on all of the body screws as well as the pivot. We can see that the pivot also has a kind of a mirror type finish, a satin finish on it, and then of course the other side of the pivot is also domed with a mirror satin type of finishing. The pocket clip is interesting. I like it and I dislike it. This is part of Charles's design, so I really won't mention that in this particular part of the review. But that is there and has it looks like a stonewash finish on that on the pocket clip. And then the blade is done very well. It has a 440C steel, which I was a bit, I would say, weary of. I've never had a blade in 440C. However, it came razor sharp. This is a pass-around knife on the USN, so it's been used before, but it's very sharp, and I think it owes some of that due to the 3/4 hollow grind, and it does come to a very nice edge. And then we can see a nice dark stonewash on the blade, and we can see that this is number 15 in the serial number 15, the Böker Plus line here. And then if you're one to worry about jimping, the jimping is also very nicely done, strong enough or sharp enough to get purchased on your thumb, not overly sharp. I think that's about it as far as materials and the quality of the knife. I was very impressed. Like I said, this is a $100 knife, and in that price range, you can buy a lot of great budget knives. But I don't think you'd be hard pressed to find a better knife for $100 than this one. At least certainly for fit and finish. I know in the $100 price range, a lot of people are in that particular price range are fans of some of Spyderco's knives, and I think this fit and finish is better than many of the Spyderco's in that particular price range. So like I said, for $100, if you're looking at this knife, you probably are a knife enthusiast. So like I said, for $100, that's not a very large expenditure for most knife enthusiasts, but I think you're going to get a lot for the price, and especially Charles Marlowe's knives are, one, hard to get, and two, are going to be much, much more than $100. So you are really getting quite a bargain here. Certainly, you can see discoloration of the micarta. I believe that's from use. I'm not really sure what the discoloration is. I might try to clean that up before I pass it on to the next person. So let's talk about the design. As I said a couple of times, this is a Charles Marlowe design called the Squail. And let's talk about the blade first. I really enjoy the blade shape. It has a recurve, we can see there, and it has a rather tall blade with an interesting thumb ramp that protrudes past the thumb disc area, and it fits nicely in the hand. So when you have your thumb rested on there very nicely, you have control, a nice control. And I've actually used this portion here with my thumb, with my forefinger, in order to cut and open boxes. So that's an interesting design feature. You wouldn't want to put your thumb up here on the spine. I did that, and then I realized my mistake. The spine is not sharpened, but with that swedge that goes almost all the way back to the thumb hole, it's actually fairly uncomfortable to put a lot of pressure on it with your thumb if you wanted to push on it like that. The handle design is very, very nice. I like how this has an ever so slight radius here, and then of course the single finger guard or finger choil up in the bolster, and then just a long sweeping lines here for the rest of your three fingers. And then of course you have the butt of the knife here, which feels very nice in the reverse grip if you wanted to do that for some reason. And so this is an interesting time to talk about the pocket clip. One, it carries tip down, so it'll be clipped in like this, and it does carry very well, or it buries well. But the pocket clip is an interesting position because this dip right here is exactly where your finger would go. So it actually, see if I can get this on camera, so that your finger is going to grip like this, and the divot makes it so that the pocket clip is not uncomfortable, and that's really appreciated. And so I dislike the fact that it's tipped down. I prefer if it was a tip-up carry. However, the way this clip is done, I'm really impressed with. I think if it was any longer, it would be uncomfortable and obtrusive. So kudos to Charles on that design. And before I go any further, this is going to cut me off. So let me splice these two pieces together real fast. So what's also interesting is the height of this handle is a little bit smaller than I was expecting. So we see it's a wide blade, and it almost seems disproportionate that the handle size does. But it actually feels fairly comfortable when it's in the hand. We can see that I have a size. So when I wear gloves, I wear a size large. And we can see that it still fits nicely in my hand. I get plenty of purchase, plenty of room here, and the contours of this particular model are very, very comfortable. And so I think Charles hit a home run on this design, and I'm really growing to like it more and more. When it wears in the pocket, I'm not sure. So you have the bolster, which is near the top of the pocket. And I feel like, for some reason, it feels like the center of gravity is higher, and it doesn't feel comfortable in my pocket as much as something that's tipped down like like this Emerson, or for comparison. But I think I'll start getting used to that as I carry it more regularly. So this is a really nice design overall, and it's well balanced. So I was expecting that this would be blade heavy, because of that large blade and the relatively small handle, but there's just enough material here in this handle that it balances pretty well. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So it balances right about in that index guard, in that index choil here. So it makes cutting less of a fatigued type thing. So if this is a something that you might be interested in purchasing, I think you would be really impressed with it, and I think you'll really enjoy it. I know a friend of mine, Bill Yester, bought one, and he also is not a fan of the tip down carry, so he went ahead and reversed it to tip up carry, and I presume he's enjoying carrying it that way. So let me compare it to some other knives that you may be familiar with. That's not really going to lay the way I want it to lay, so let's lay it like that. First up is the Emerson CQC7, which is a knife that I'm sure many people are familiar with, whether you own it or have handled it sometime in the past. And let's see, if we do tip to tip, we will see that the Marlowe, that the Böker, is probably a half of an inch or 3/4 of an inch longer. And let's just take a look at the blades compared to each other. Let's see. So I am putting them, they're directly above one another, or one's above the other, and it's a bit longer, maybe 1/4 of an inch or so, but the blade is clearly much taller on the Marlowe, on the Böker Marlowe. But with that high hollow grind, it's gonna really has a nice edge on it because of that feature. As that falls over once more, let me grab my Strider S&G, and we'll take a look at this comparison. And let me get these two in the camera here. So here we see that the overall, let's just look at the cutting edge. And again, the Marlowe, the Böker Marlowe, is going to be about 1/4 inch, maybe a 1/2 inch longer cutting edge than the Strider S&G. But just from pivot to tip, it's actually nearly identical, but the Marlowe does take the cake in the longer blade category. And then overall, let's take a look there. We'll do tip to tip. I know Jim Skelton always does butt to butt, so I don't want to intrude. And overall, the Böker is still going to be a little bit longer, but certainly, again, not by a whole lot. Maybe from my vantage point off camera, I'm going to say another 1/4 of an inch or so. And then let's take a look at grips. So when we grip it like this, we can see that I have, I think I have more handle on the Marlowe, on the Böker, than I do the S&G. Of course, if I choke up, then I certainly have more handle on the S&G. And again, we can see the difference in the blade cutting surface there. So that's about it. I just wanted to give you an overview of this really cool knife. Like I said, for what you're getting, $100 I think is a fair price. I know some people might complain that they would like a more impressive steel, but that's going to increase price, and perhaps someday they'll do a more expensive run, and maybe for around $200 they could throw in S30V. Actually, that would be a really nice offering. But overall, I'm really impressed with the quality, the craftsmanship that Böker has put into this knife, and really impressed by the design. If you're not familiar with Charles Marlowe's custom designs, his stuff is phenomenal. I had a chance to meet Charles at G5 this past August, and he's a really nice guy, very down-to-earth kind of person, and he makes some awesome knives. His ballast songs are just out of this world. I handled a couple that were kind of had a bamboo handle. I think they're titanium, but he grooves them and machines them. Well, I don't know if it's machined. I don't want to say that. But anyway, he makes them look like bamboo handle scales, and that is just phenomenal. So look up his work online. I think you'll really like it if you haven't seen his stuff before. So thanks for watching. This is a little longer video than usual, but if you've made it this far, I'd appreciate a like. Those help me out quite a bit. If any questions or comments, please leave them. And as always, be dressed to play and geared to slaughter. See ya.